everybody has a favorite season. You know, whether it be the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall. But I think at the end of the day, every season sucks. And that's the lemon. What is up, everybody? This is Evan with the Lemons with Clemmons. Today, I want to talk about something that we always have to talk about, which is the weather, the seasons. All right, there's something about every time, it's just one of those things that always comes up. You know, how's the weather or the weather? It's a hot one today. There's always something about the weather. This is a constant thing that we're always talking about. What we always also talk about is this is my favorite time of the year. This is the best season, etc. But I think that pretty much every season sucks if you think about it, and that's why we're always bitching about the weather. So I do want to note that everything I'm about to talk about is definitely it's specific to the Midwest region. So it's not going to be the same for if you're in Florida, or if you're in California, or in the coast, or if you're way up north. Okay, so in the heartland of America, in Missouri, our seasons are a little bit different than others. You know, it's going to be very, it's crazy because the swings in it from mild to extremes in hours. And it's something that as you've grown up in this way, you get used to it. But people that are not used to it, it's a little insane. And then on top of that, when you take into account that there's just such a humid climate here, it changes things even more. So knowing that it's specific to the Midwest, every season still has its faults. So let's start with what I call allergy season, which is spring. Okay, first of all, spring is the most, I'd say, bipolar season. First of all, once it turns spring on the calendar, it's not actually spring. You're going back and forth between winter. Sometimes it's snowing. All right, what is that about? I don't understand why it's snowing sometimes when it's spring. Spring is basically, it's a transitional season. Spring and fall are transition seasons where you're basically just doing the run up until when it's warm again. It begins by not being able to make up its mind. You think it's spring, and then all of a sudden it's not. It's winter again for a few days, and then it's warming, and all the snow melts, and it's spring again. So then you're also going through this whole thing of, do I turn my AC on? Or do I just open the windows? But then all of a sudden you have an extremely, extremely hot day, and then a few days later it's really cold. So do you keep the heat on? Or do you just run fans? And so you're doing this whole game of back and forth, and you don't want to turn on your AC and turn it off and do that whole thing. You know, then you have allergies everywhere on top of that. So if you aren't doing the proper spring cleaning and changing out your filters, that aggravates your allergies even more. So as everything begins to bloom and you have all the allergies coming out, it becomes the worst. Like, and that's a whole, like, right now is exactly why this podcast has taken so long. I tried recording this podcast already once. I've already talked about all the seasons once before already, but I was just so congested, and I still am a little bit, and I was coughing, and I could have spent hours trying to edit it and trying to make it sound okay, or I decided to clear up a little bit and try to do this all over. And so I hope that at least in this take of it, it's going to be a little bit better. But it's one of the faults of spring is that allergies just attack you, and they are debilitating at times. You know, there's nothing worse. Also, just a side note of just the itchy eyes. And why is it always just one eye? There's just one eye. I'm just I just want to take like a Brillo pad and just start scratching, and it gets so bad sometimes. Unless at night, sometimes I think both of them start itching or something. Maybe that's just me, you know. But you start to have this warm weather. You're finally taking off the heavy coats. You try and enjoy yourself, and then it starts raining. So you can't go and enjoy a lot of the weather because it's raining, and you got to stay indoors because it's just chilly enough still with the rain that you'll get sick if you go out. And so, again, it goes back into that back and forth of the cold weather and the warm weather. And it's one of the things that just drives me insane about spring until all of a sudden it warms up and then you're there. And now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of things, and then I'm going to go into this about all the seasons. There's things in every season that are good. Like the spring is actually a great season because, you have all the flowers blooming. You have the weather warming up finally because nobody actually likes cold weather. Okay, you can prepare for it, but nobody actually likes it. The other part about spring that I just can't stand is graduation season. Right? When you're a kid, when you're actually going through the graduations, yeah, it's exciting, it's fun, it's great because you're at the end. That's the accomplishment for you. You're getting through it. You're moving on. And anybody that listens to this and is graduating or did graduate, congratulations. That's awesome. This is an exciting time. But just so you know, your family sitting in the bleachers waiting for your name that ends in a Q or like a V, they hate it. They absolutely hate sitting there for hours, depending on the size of the school or the class that's graduating. There's nothing worse than just sitting there and watching other people graduate. You're only going there to support your family member or members, depending on the situation. But nobody likes graduations otherwise. The people there, they don't even like it because you're just sitting there waiting so you can be done with it and say you did it. It's something that is incredibly irritating. Now, I will say the graduation parties, though, those are worth it. But otherwise, as you go to graduations for other people, you realize this actually sucks. There is nothing good about it. And it's just one of those things that you realize you just need to do because it's the right thing to do. So then all of a sudden you get summer. And summer is like the time to play. Summer is great for the party animals. You know what I mean? So you have spring where you're warming up to things, and all of a sudden it's just summer and it's hot. All right, but it's not hot yet. So summer starts great. You're going to the lake, you're doing float trips, you're having a great time, you're able to go outside. And one of the parts about spring, I guess I should say, that follows into summer is mowing season starts. All right, first of all, that's aggravating your allergies some more because, of course, when you mow, you're just throwing more stuff up in the air. But there's something about when you're trying to sleep in on a Saturday and your asshole neighbor is starting their lawnmower at 7 a.m., there's nothing worse than that. I don't want to wake up to that. Or in summer, waking up to the people roofing next door or across the street. So if you got somebody mowing, the other people roofing, you just hear the sound of hammers, or you hear the sound of the trucks bringing stuff, if they're cutting down trees. Like, summer's great because it's the time to get shit done. You did your spring cleaning. Now we're trimming trees. Now we're getting things ready. You're making your yard look good. There's a lot of good things to it. But I absolutely hate it when summer comes and every day I'm waking up to the same bullshit of hammers, big trucks, lawnmowers. It's like you can't sleep in anymore. Depending on where you live. Maybe I've just had the bad luck of always being around people that apparently need to get the roofs done every summer. I don't know. Is that just me? Because it's something that is constantly happening, I feel like. No matter where I'm at, there's always somebody's roof getting done. Especially if you had a bad winter before, then it's happening everywhere. So then chainsaws, lawnmowers, whatever. It's the worst. You don't want to wake up to it. I'm hungover. I'm waking up. I want to enjoy myself. All right. I want to get some sleep, but instead I got Jimbo next door mowing right next to my goddamn window, and all I want to do is sleep. It doesn't work out. And so, on top of that, I'm outside. I'm enjoying myself, and all of a sudden I'm getting sunburnt. Right? I guess I could prepare for that, but there's nothing worse than a sunburn. And then if you're in the sun too long, you get sun sickness? What is that? How is that a thing? How can you be in nature too long? You know what I mean? So that shouldn't even be a thing, but unfortunately it is. Maybe it's because we're not used to being outside as much, but it's a pain in the ass. So then it's summer. All right, we're enjoying ourselves, but you can't get anywhere. Why can't you get anywhere, you ask? Because there's fucking road work everywhere. Why is it summer, which is also the time of traveling and vacations, it's the hardest time to travel? Because they know everybody's traveling, gas prices go up. But as the gas prices go up, there's road work everywhere. So all of a sudden, on all these interstates and all these highways, I'm down to one lane, or I'm crossing over to the other side of the highway because they're fixing a bridge, or I have to reroute to find a way to wherever the hell I'm going because there is road work every summer, no matter what. When you get a good stretch of highway without road work and you feel like you won, but then you're stuck again because, again, if you want to go listen back to some of my other podcasts, you have a bunch of assholes that don't know how to drive right, and now we got a traffic jam because we got more road work. I don't want to be going 40 miles per hour in one lane because of road work. That is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. And when you're passing the road work, by the way, what is it? So there's no way that's good for you. You know, every time I drive by, I'm holding my breath. There's no way. That's got to be giving me cancer. Have you ever smelled that? It is the worst smell. And it's like harsh. It's like you feel it inside of you and you feel it in your lungs. And so I hold my breath every time as long as I can to get through road work. Then I take a quick breath and keep going if it's going too long. But I feel for the people that are working out there. First of all, working out, and if you're doing asphalt, you know, it's super hot. I mean, it's taking the temperature of it and you're just times it in a half. So if it's like 90 degrees, they're working at 130 degrees type of deal. You know, and it's too much for a lot of people to do, but there's no way they should be breathing that in. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not awful to breathe in, but it smells so bad. I believe in my heart that it is cancerous and it's going to kill me. It's got to be toxic. There's no way it's not. And I don't care what anybody says. It's toxic. It's bad for you. And I'm breathing that in every summer when I'm trying to go enjoy my vacation, which is bullshit. But then you have the worst part about summer. Okay, so we all love it, but then it gets too hot where it is awful if you leave a kid or an animal in the car. If you keep those windows up and you need to go into the store, I don't think anybody actually realizes how quick the car heats up. So you can't leave your dog in there. If you do that, you're an asshole, and you definitely can't leave a kid in there, you know. So if you do that and your window gets broken, that's your fault because you're an idiot. It should be broken. The cops should be called. That's neglect. That's awful. It becomes a pain in the ass because it's hard to be able to just go in and out of a store if you have an animal. Well, don't take your animal or your kid to the store at that point, or take them in with you. Well, I guess with some animals you can't. But don't just leave them in a car with the windows up. You know, a good example, you know, my son's mom was visiting her family, seeing the grandparents, took our son, was getting out of the car and trying to get in the middle of the summer. It's a hot afternoon. Closes the door, goes to get our son out of the car. She accidentally locked the door while getting out and left the keys inside without a backup. I'm at work. I'm unable to help. And it's the dead heat of summer, and we can't get anybody to come. They can't get anybody to get them. They come help at that time, or they're, you know, a little bit out of the way. They had to break the window because you can't risk it. You know, that's not like a police officer or just a civilian out at a store. That's just family doing the right thing. You know, that's a true story, though. But because just a few minutes in the car can make that much of a difference whenever it's hot enough. And I think that's something that we don't actually think about. It's not something that we realize can make as big of a difference as it does. Is with those windows up, with that heat going, it's game over if you're in there too long. You know, but you know, summer's great though because you got the fires, you got the float trips, you get to enjoy yourself, okay? But with all that comes the bugs and the mosquitoes, which is the worst. All of a sudden, it's bug season on top of it being the fun season. While summer is probably the most fun I think you can have out of all the seasons, I think you have the ability, I think, to do more. I think it also comes with just as many hazards or faults that make it a pain in the ass. So I can absolutely see somebody saying, you know, summer is my favorite month, and those people are probably going to be the partiers. People without a lot of responsibilities, most likely. All right, no offense to anybody that's listening to this. Also, you have to think that a lot of people, we've grown accustomed to loving summer because we've been out of school. You know, we're kind of almost trained like, oh, it's summer. That means I don't have school. That means I get to enjoy myself. I have freedom. So a lot of people just naturally say summer's my favorite season. Well, as you get older, maybe it's not. Because then all of a sudden it's too hot to even go outside and it's a heat advisory. And now your electric bill is way high because it's too damn hot outside. You're trying to keep things cool. And if the power goes out, you're screwed. But anyway, we'll move on. All right, I've talked about summer enough, I think. I think you get the gist. So fall comes. And fall is probably the time when you get all the beautiful colors. I mean, spring, you have all the beautiful flowers that come up. You have all these great colors. But then fall is a whole new set of colors. And it's beautiful. You have all the beautiful colored leaves falling into my gutters. And I have to clean them and all over the goddamn ground. All right? Yeah, it's pretty, but it's dirty. Fall is dirty. And also, real quick, before I go too far into it, why is there two names for fall? Why is it fall and why is it also autumn? I have no idea. If you know, leave a comment, go to the Facebook page, say something, because is there a reason? Does it different things? Is it different time periods, or is it both the same? Is it fall? You hear autumn, you hear fall. No other time has two names for it. So I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. All right, and that makes it even more difficult. But anyway, so all these leaves fall everywhere. And so now we're in raking season or burning season because everybody's burning the leaves and all the sticks that fall from the dying trees because it's dying season. That's what we're not attributing it to. All right? What is that? Dia de las Muertas or whatever it is, with the Day of the Dead in Mexico. And Halloween, it's celebrating death conveniently at the time that everything is dying. All right, all your flowers are dying. Your trees are dying. My soul is dying a little bit as I know that I have to rake and burn everything up. And doing all that brings even more allergies or more issues. And I feel like it just becomes messier during this time. And maybe it's just because all the leaves that are breaking everywhere. You have more bugs and rodents and pests trying to get into your house because things are starting to cool down and you're the only place that's warm. So you have to prepare for that. It becomes kind of fun because I think fall's the time when you get to really try all your new types of clothing. You get to do different layers. And honestly, I enjoy hoodie season. I think hoodie season is probably the best. It's most comfortable because the hoodie you can wear outside and be comfortable, and you can wear it inside and not be hot and hating your entire life. And so as I sat here and, I have these notes that I'm trying to go over and talking about all these faults in fall. And out of all the seasons, fall seems to be the one with the least amount of faults, I'd say. Does that mean that it's my favorite? Well, maybe that becomes my favorite because there's the least amount of fall. It's just that just because of the process of elimination, But with fall, there's it becomes the cleaning season again, and then you're going through this thing of the beginning of fall is hot, and you're getting the cold, and it goes back and forth. And I would say one of the most frustrating things about fall is that overnight everything becomes cold. All right, so in the early mornings, if you're starting your day, you're going to school, you're going to work, whatever you're doing, and you're preparing for it. You have jackets or hoodies or hats or whatever because it starts getting cold. But then by midday or when you're leaving, it's hot and you're sweating your ass off, and so you're just carrying around a bunch of extra stuff because you have to be prepared for the cold. But now all of a sudden it's not cold, and then you do this for a few weeks of going back and forth of the cold and the hot. Because again, nothing's made up its mind, and so you're just waiting and waiting for the next thing. But as I sit here, and in all honesty, and this isn't just something to make you comment. I guess it is, but I'm trying to find things that are bad and the faults in fall and autumn or whatever, other than having two names and leaves being fucking everywhere. And then whenever you think you're done raking them up, all of a sudden you're raking them up again because apparently it's not done. And it doesn't end for months, apparently. What else is bad about it? Maybe the people going to school again, having to go back to school, that's a pain in the ass. But otherwise, honestly, what is it about fall? Is there anything else that's bad about it? And is that how we're going to decide which one's good and which one's bad? Through just process of elimination of, there's the least amount of faults. I mean, there's not a lot of good to it either. I think it's good for fashion and for, if you're into football or something like that. But, I mean, I like Halloween. I mean, then it's pretty much over. there isn't a lot great going for it, but there's not a lot going that's bad for it either. I think you can enjoy it, and it's one of those that seems like it lasts longer than it needs to. I don't like it getting dark, which kind of leads me to winter. First of all, if you're one of those people that think you love the cold and love the winter, first of all, you're wrong. Okay, you're just wrong, and you're not gonna convince me otherwise. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else because you think that you can handle the cold. That's all it is. Because there's nothing. I don't care if you are used to living in like Wisconsin, as I think some people say. You know what? We'll have to cut that out. But you think you can live up in Wisconsin or Wyoming or all these places that get just feet of snow. The cold is possible to prepare for. Yes, you can live in the Arctic. It's a lot easier, and there's a lot more people living in extreme cold than extreme heat. It's a lot more manageable because you can actually prepare for it through fire, through layering up, through shelter. The problem becomes you have all these layers and you're preparing, and do you actually enjoy it? Like, first of all, nobody looks good in cold clothes. All right, because you're just layered up and bulked up, so everybody looks bigger than they are. And then you already are bigger than you are because we're all eating more because it's a natural tendency to eat more and to kind of add fat to our bodies. That's a natural thing through I think all species, all mammal species, to kind of adjust towards the colder weather. But the fact that you have to layer up so much, and then what you're doing, you're bundling up just so you can go to your car or go to somebody's house or go to work just to unbundle everything. And so you're taking like 5 minutes just to get ready and to get done. I mean, maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. This is a first world problem. But there's something about having to do this whole thing of layering up and then taking everything off once you get to wherever you are. Because if you just wear it, you're just sweating your ass off all of a sudden. And there's nothing good in that. Now I will say, when you're younger, sledding and snowboarding and skiing, that's all fun. Everybody enjoys that. And I think as you get older, it kind of becomes less and less fun, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Because I feel like back in the day, I could, and I say back in the day like I'm super old, but I'm really not. But, 10, 15 years ago, I could walk outside without a shirt, in 5-degree weather. I can barely do that in 30-degree weather anymore. And I don't know how that works or why it works that way. But it's just a thing. So you can prepare all you want, but at the end of the day, it's still only so fun because, snow's great. The first snowfall is beautiful. It looks great when it's untouched. When you look outside and the roads haven't been plowed. And it only and I'm good with just like a foot. Don't give me more than a foot of snow. Okay, I'm good after that because after that, it's an inconvenience, really. Nobody likes shoveling snow, all right? If you do, you're also lying, all right? Nobody enjoys having to get out into the freezing temperature just to clear a path just for your car so that you can get to other places while being warm. Nobody enjoys it. It's probably worse than mowing, honestly. But you have the snow that comes down, just a foot, like I said, and then it melts. And as it melts, you get that slush mud substance, or the snow that gets plowed into the corners, and so you just have those giant mounds of snow on street corners, and everything begins to just be wet, muddy, and dirty. And everything just looks gross. During the winter, nothing seems clean because you have mud, snow, or the salt that they put out. And in some places, they put sand. Okay, so nothing is good. Everything's dirty. You have just grit everywhere. And it completely makes anything fun become unfun because if you go outside and enjoy yourself, if you don't take off your shoes as soon as you get inside, you're tracking shit everywhere, and it is disgusting. It's muddy everywhere. Or the worst part is, like, unless you put like the plastic into your car, like your car is disgusting from whatever mixture is out there. But that slush, that muddy slush that's left over, or when it snows and it doesn't snow enough and it's just slushy, it's not even muddy, that's the worst. And the other thing about winter is like it's icy, it's slick, and it's unsafe. And first of all, actually, you know what? What is it with the very first snow of the year? And this could be all the way over in fall still, or autumn. Why, whoever says whatever about it, or whatever you want to call it, the first snow, the first flurries that hit the air, and we're talking the first snow that doesn't even hit the ground and stick. Why is it that everybody forgets how to drive? And I keep going back to driving. Obviously, this is a big pet peeve of mine. But why is it that everybody just seems to forget how to drive whenever there's just a little snow in the air? It's as if, like, all of a sudden you see a few flurries in there, then there must be black ice everywhere, and nobody knows how to drive anymore. And it drives me absolutely insane. Sorry, had to say that. It blows my mind how people can be in a vehicle with the weather sometimes. Anyway. So then, if you get more than a foot of snow, now we're at pain in the ass time because, these people that are getting several feet of snow and you're shutting down entire cities. All right, the ice that you get during ice storms can completely shut down a town or a city. It's a lot more dangerous at that time. If you get stranded with the snow, you're screwed. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to change a tire in the bitter cold, but it's probably one of the worst things that you can do. And there's nothing fun about it. With the way that winter works, with the sun going down sooner and it being darker earlier and for longer, everybody's mood goes down. It becomes, the seasonal depressional disorder is a real thing. And it affects everybody, and you can see it, and it's hard to get through it. And there's so much behind it because not only that, but it's so cold you don't want to get outside and you don't want to go deal with people. You don't want to bundle up for 10 minutes just to go somewhere for 30 minutes just to leave again. And half the time you're bundling and unbundling. Nobody wants to do that. So you don't want to see people and you're kind of to yourself already. The sun's not out. A lot of times it's cloudy. Or when it's sunny and you get that nice, beautiful sun outside and you're so ready, but it's deceiving. When you have that beautiful sun outside, you're like, oh, it looks like a nice day. And you go outside and you nope right back inside. I can't do it, and maybe now that I'm older, I'm just not good at cold weather. Maybe that's what it is, but it is the absolute worst. And then you get all the sickness coming in the winter because we're all sitting in our own filth because we're not opening the windows. We're not getting fresh air. We're just breathing in the same germs over and over. And that's why you have the flu season. So it's not just because it's cold outside. The flu isn't just better in the cold. Okay, yes, heat and sun kills a lot of viruses and bacteria, but a lot of it's just because we're recycling the same air. All right, we're sitting in our same filth. Unless you're constantly cleaning everything, then you're staying on top of it and changing filters. There's not much you're going to do. Even if you don't go out very often and aren't around others, it's a very high possibility of getting sick. And the colder temperatures also make it harder for your body to fight a lot of those things too. But it's the recirculation of the same air and the same germs over and over. And the one thing, and maybe I'd like winter more, honestly, if I just finally nutted up and paid the money to get the remote start in my car, because there's nothing worse than running outside to start your car after shoveling all the snow off of it just so you're warm enough to drive to work. There's nothing worse than that. If I could just press a button and it'd be warm for me already, maybe I would like winter a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's not the season. There's a reason that people travel during the winter all the time to get away from the cold weather. Yeah, some people go places to ski and sled and snowboard or whatever, but I think that's a lot more few and far between than the people that are trying to go to the beach or something to get away from that. So we'll wrap this up, but at the end of the day, I think that most of the seasons, honestly, they suck. And that's why the weather is something we're always talking about, because we're never happy with it. There's always something wrong with it. We can't predict it. It doesn't matter what season it is. And it's just the same thing over and over. There's nothing good about it. And again, I think there's the least amount of faults come to fall, to autumn, whatever the hell you want to call it. And that still makes me mad that there's two names for it. And I can't get over it. I think summer's the most fun. I think winter can be okay. but overall it sucks. All right, spring's okay whenever it decides to be actually spring, but it sucks too because of allergies. So, summer and fall are probably the top two out of the shitty seasons. All right, so at the end of the day, and I keep saying end of the day, and I don't know why I'm saying that a lot today. I don't know what that is, but I'm sticking with it for this podcast. So, you know, if you have a different opinion, I want to know, okay, what are some things about fall that you don't like other than just the leaves? Because I am genuinely curious. Or what's some things that are good about maybe winter other than the fact that you can prepare for it? Because otherwise, there's nothing good. And don't hit me with this like Winter Olympics. Yeah, everybody loves watching curling, okay? I'm watching that in the warmth of my house. I'm not watching it in the winter weather. You know, so when it comes down to it, every season sucks. I'm sorry about it. And that's the lemon.